Welcome back, everyone, here to Bronx Talk. Today, got a very special video for you guys. We are going to be talking about 4 Yankees trades that almost happened. Talk about what players were going to go to the Yankees, what players were going to leave the Yankees, and talk about what transpired, why this trade never happened. It's pretty crazy to think about what the Yankees would be like if these trades actually did happen. So let's get right into it.
In 2010, the Yankees were coming off a World Series win against the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Yankees were having another great season in 2010, and they were looking to improve at the trade deadline. And the big name they were targeting was Cliff Lee of the Seattle Mariners. Now, they had a deal almost done, although one of the players that the Yankees were going to send over to the Mariners, David Adams, the Mariners didn't really like his medicals. The Yankees tried to offer Adam Warren instead, but the Mariners only wanted Eduardo Nunez or Ivan Nova, and the Yankees weren't interested in that, so the deal fell through. Cliff Lee ends up going to the Texas Rangers, and then the Yankees play the Texas Rangers in the 2010 ALCS, and they get dominated by Cliff Lee. So most of these trades that we're going to talk about turned out in favor for the Yankees, but this one definitely hurts because the Yankees could have repeat.
Yeah, that one certainly stings. It's very unfortunate that trade did not happen, especially what followed with Eduardo Nunez and Ivan Nova. So it's pretty unfortunate, but it's a part of the game. It's part of the business. These things do happen, whether you like it or not. The next trade that almost happened was prior to the 1996 season. And the Yankees were planning to roll with Derek Jeter, the rookie, as the starting shortstop for the 1996 season. And owner George Steinbrenner was a little unsure about having Jeter be the starting shortstop because he was so young. So what happened was the Yankees were planning on trading Mariano Rivera to the Seattle Mariners for the Mariners starting shortstop to take over, and Jeter would be the backup. This trade, however, never happened because Yankees management convinced George Steinbrenner that they should really believe in Derek Jeter, and George Steinbrenner was convinced, and this trade never happened, and it definitely worked out for the Yankees because Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter became Hall of Famers and some of the game's greatest players. And imagining Mariano Rivera in a different uniform it makes me cringe. It's awful. However, this trade did not happen, and it definitely benefited the Yankees.
Thank God it did not. At the time, Mariano Rivera was still considered a starter, and really no one saw a future for him, especially as a starter. To think he would turn out to be the greatest closer of all time, you got to give that's where a lot of props goes to Gene Michaels for holding on to him. He was one of the main guys who saw something in Mariano Rivera.
Absolutely.
Now, the third trade that almost happened almost came at the 2017 trade deadline. Now, the Yankees, in hindsight, this was the closest the Yankees would get to World Series since 2009 when they actually won it. However, the Yankees actually had a pretty surprising 2017. No one really expected them to be one of the top teams in the league, but they were. And they were looking to improve at a position which had been a really big weak point for them. They had Greg Bird playing a little bit of first base, Chris Carter, who many Yankee fans...
That was a disaster.
...don't have great memories of him. They needed someone at first base. And that's why they were going after Lucas Duda of the New York Mets. Now, a Yankees-Mets trade, not the most common thing. However, this trade was nearly done. Nearly done. However, at the last moment, the Mets backed out and said, we're not doing it. Completely screwing over the Yankees. The reason they backed out, we don't really know. Could be the Mets didn't want to help the Yankees. Could be they saw something in Duda and wanted to keep him for the foreseeable future. But I'll tell you, 2017 could have been a little different with Lucas Duda. However, his second half with the Mets, it was really bad. He hit below 200. However, you never know how he turns out with the Yankees and in the postseason. All in all, though, first base was kind of a disaster in 2017.
I mean, yes, but Greg Bird was absolutely phenomenal in the postseason. Who knows? Maybe it changes scenery. I know it's in the same city, but going over to a winning club, maybe that, helps Lucas Duda a bit. But many people believe it was because the Mets ownership didn't want to trade under the Yankees. They didn't want Lucas Duda to go win a World Series with the Yankees. That's the last thing, the Mets want. So that's what many people believe the reason was. Mets were just kind of being stubborn. And, it worked out for the Yankees. And, I don't know how the Mets feel, but I hope they wish they did the deal, but I don't know. So that trade never happened. So definitely interesting to see what would have happened. Okay, the final trade that we got is probably the biggest what if maybe in baseball history. This trade is absolutely mind-boggling how crazy it is. So this was back in the day with Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. And the Red Sox owner at the time, Tom Yawkey, and Yanks owner at the time, Dan Topping, met at Toots Shores restaurant in Midtown Manhattan just to discuss, things and stuff like that regarding, baseball and stuff like that. And the story is, this is not 100% confirmed, but the story is that they got drunk or whatever, and they decided, why not do a trade or whatever? Something happened, and the Yankees were going to send Joe DiMaggio to the Red Sox, and the Red Sox were going to send back Ted Williams to the Yankees. And this is just crazy. It makes me cringe. And it made sense because, Ted Williams, the short porch in Yankee Stadium, and Joe DiMaggio at the Green Monster in Fenway Park. And they actually wrote the deal out on a napkin, and they were going to do the trade. They were actually going to do the trade. The trade was actually going to happen. And the next morning, they woke up. I guess they got back to their senses. One of them called one another on the phone, and they decided that they shouldn't do this trade. Both players meant so much to their respective franchises, and they thought it would just not be good for both fan bases and both organizations. And so this trade never happened, but this trade is still really crazy to think about, and probably one of the biggest what ifs in baseball history.